Master of Ceremonies. You will now present the brother who has been elected to discharge the important duties of Master of this lodge.
Worshipful Sir, I present to you for installation Brother Sudusta, who has been duly elected to serve as Master of this lodge.
Is it known that Brother Sudusta is well skilled in our ancient craft? Is he zealous in his regard for the interests of our order? And is he duly qualified to discharge the special duties of the Master's chair?
He is all this, Worshipful Sir. This certificate vouches for his proficiency. He is good, moral, true, and trusty, and as he is the lover of the fraternity, I doubt not that he will discharge his duties with fidelity and with honor. Excuse me.
Worshipful Sir, the brethren of this lodge, reposing confidence in your integrity, in your zealous regard for the interests of Masonry, and in your ability to discharge the duties of the Master's chair, have chosen you to occupy the honorable position during the ensuing year. Are you willing to accept the important trust?
I am.
Then, my brother, I shall most cheerfully proceed to install you in the dignified and honorable position to which the suffrage of your brethren has called you, not doubting that the dignity of the Oriental chair will be well preserved in your keeping, and that the interests and welfare of this lodge may be safely confided to your charge. Before commencing your investiture, however, it is necessary that you should signify your assent to those ancient charges and regulations which point out the duties of the master of a lodge, and which on no account are ever to be neglected or departed from. They are as follows. You agree to be a good man and true, and strictly to obey the moral law. You agree to be a peaceable citizen, and cheerfully to conform to the laws of the country in which you reside. You promise not to be concerned in plots and conspiracies against governments, but patiently to submit to the decision of the Supreme Legislature. You agree to pay a proper respect to the civil magistrate, to work diligently, live creditably, and act honorably by all men. You agree to hold in veneration the original rulers and patrons of the Order of Masonry, and their regular successors, supreme and subordinate, according to their stations, and to submit to the awards and regulations of your brothers, when convened in every case consistent with the constitutions of the Order. You agree to avoid private piques and quarrels, and to guard against intemperance and excess. You agree to be cautious in carriage and behavior, and courteous to your brethren, and faithful to your lodge. You promise to respect genuine brethren, and to discountenance impostors in all dissenters from the original plan of Masonry. You agree to promote the general good of society, to cultivate the social virtues, and to propagate the knowledge of the art. You promise to pay homage to the Grand Master for the time being, and to his officers when duly installed, and strictly to conform to every edict of the Grand Lodge or General Assembly of Masons that is not subversive of the principles and groundwork of Masonry. You admit that it is not in the power of any man or body of man to make innovations in the body of Masonry. You promise a regular attendance on the committees and communications of the Grand Lodge, on receiving proper notice, and to pay attention to all the duties of Masonry on convenient occasions. You admit that no new lodge should be formed without permission of the Grand Lodge, and that no countenance should be given to any irregular lodge or to any person clandestinely initiated therein, being contrary to the ancient charges of the order. You admit that no person can be regularly made a Mason in or admitted a member of any regular lodge without previous notice and due inquiry into his character. You agree that no visitor shall be received into your lodge without due examination and producing proper vouchers of their having been initiated in a regular lodge. These are among the ancient charges and regulations of free and accepted Masons, and to these your assent must be freely given. Do you submit to these charges and promise to support these regulations as masters have done in all ages before you?
I do.
Then, my brother, in consequence of this assurance, and with full confidence in your capacity and zeal, I will now install you Master of Granada Hills Lodge number 378. Brother Master of Ceremonies, you will invest him with a jewel of his station. The square, my brother, is an emblem of morality, and as it is this, the special badge of the Master's office, it should constantly remind you that not only by precept, but by example, you should promote good morals among the brethren, and thus endeavor to avert the shadow of any scandal or reproach against the fraternity. Your former life has given evidence that this jewel will not be an unmeaning symbol in your hands, and I solemnly charge you to take good care that its luster be not dimmed through any act of yours. I now present to you the Book of Holy Writings. It is a great light in Masonry, and should ever be the great law of the Brotherhood. It will guide you to all truth. It will direct you to eternal happiness, and an attentive regard to the divine precepts it contains will ensure your success in the fulfillment of the duties you are now about to assume. The working tools of our craft will next be presented to you, that as the master workman you may instruct the craftsman in the various duties and virtues with which they have been selected to illustrate. The square. Teaches us well to regulate our every action and to let our conduct be governed by the principles of morality and virtue. The compass. Teaches us to limit our desires in every station and never to suffer our passions or our prejudices to become the masters of our judgment. The rule. Directs the undeviating discharge of all our duties that we should press forward in the straight path of right and truth without inclining to the one hand or the other, in all our doings having eternity in view. The plum is an emblem of moral rectitude. It teaches us to avoid all dissimulation and to pursue that honest and upright course in life which will tend to our elevation in the higher realms of immortality. There are still other important things which you will receive in charge. The Book of Constitutions you are expected diligently to search and from time to time to cause the contents to be read in your lodge, that none may remain ignorant of the precepts it enjoins, or of the ordinances which it promulgates. This book contains the bylaws of your lodge, which it will be your special duty to see carefully and punctually executed. And this is the charter. Under the authority of which your lodge is held, and which you are carefully to preserve and duly transmit to your successor in the master's chair. Brother Master of Ceremonies, you will conduct the master to his station in the east. Worshipful Master, I congratulate you on your ascension to this time-honored seat. The duties incumbent upon your station are fraught with grave responsibilities. Remember that the honor, reputation, and usefulness of your lodge will materially depend upon the skill and assiduity with which you manage its concerns, and that the happiness of its members will be generally promoted in proportion to the watchful care with which you genuinely cherish the values of our institution. For a pattern of imitation, consider the great luminary of nature, which rising from the east, generally diffuses light and luster to all within its circle. In like manner, it is your province to spread and communicate light and instruction to the brethren of your lodge. Forcibly impress upon them the dignity and high importance of Masonry, and seriously admonish them never to disgrace it. Charge them to practice out of the lodge those duties which they have been taught in it, and by amiable, discreet, and virtuous conduct, to convince mankind of the goodness of this institution. Because when a person is said to be a member of it, the world may know that he is one to whom the burdened heart may pour out its sorrows, one to whom distress might prefer its soothe, one whose hand is guided by justice, and whose heart is expanded by benevolence. In short, by a diligent observance of the bylaws of your lodge, the constitutions of Masonry, and above all, the Holy Scriptures, which are given as the rule and guide of your faith, you will be enabled to acquit yourself to the highest honors here and set up a crown of rejoicing, which shall continue when time shall be no more. Brother Senior and Junior Warden, you are too well acquainted with the principles of Masonry to warrant any distrust that you will be found wanting in the discharge of your respective duties. Suffice it to say